So now I'm taking pictures. Hi,
Now you're
Dad.
taking a picture.
Yeah. So we're just sitting here on a Sunday afternoon and wondering if you'd care to reminisce about any events of your life.
Well, there are a number of things that are, to me, I remember them suddenly, but they're not always interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about a story about you and Uncle Alex in the war? How did you want to tell a story of how you first met him? When you first met him?
All right. We were we had to report to Camp Grant in Illinois, and that's where we were inducted into the Army. And then we had to take some tests there, and then we were assigned to go somewhere in the Army. Well, Alex and I were assigned to go to Selfridge Field, which is a airfield. Army, at that time it was called the Army Air Corps. But I didn't know Alex then. But we were on the same train going to Selfridge Field, which is about 10, 15 miles north of Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got off, the train goes into a siding right in where the field is. And as we got off, we had to walk to, I guess, a central point. I can't remember. But anyway, I still remember Alex was walking with another fellow, and with his little gait that he has, which anyway, I was by myself, so I started walking with him. And he said, "Are you from Milwaukee?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Well, this fellow's from Milwaukee too. Let's all of us from Milwaukee try to stay together."
Mm-hmm.
So we stayed together, and we got assigned into a barracks where it was on the second floor of the barracks. There's 2 floors. Anyway, that's when I met Alex. And he slept in a cot about two cots away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't, well, I don't know what else to say. That's how
you met.
How we met.
But you were in the same outfit together. Then it turned out you were in the same outfit together in the war.
Yes, well, we were at Camp Grant. We were assigned to certain outfits in the Army. This happened to be the Army Air Corps. Now, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. Why did we go into the Army? We were drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And we were not drafted after the war started. We were drafted before the war, before we got into the war. The war was already going on in Europe, but we were not at war when we were drafted. And President Roosevelt wanted training, wanted an army that was pre-trained, you might say.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our purpose, was to get trained, because there was no idea that we were going to go to war. The American people in general did not want war. But we were preparing in case we had to go to war, which happened with Pearl Harbor. So actually we were drafted about 9 months before Pearl Harbor.
Hmm.
And that's when we were in the war then.
Mm-hmm.
So now we, okay, before, I jumped ahead a little bit there. After Camp Grant, like I say, we went to Selfridge Field. Selfridge Field was a airfield for Army Air Force, or Army Air Corps, and it was named for Lieutenant Suffrage, and he was the first flyer to be killed in the Army, in a plane crash in the Army. So they named a field after him.
Mm.
All right, now let me think. Okay, I was working with the radio or the communications section, and Alex went to work. At that time, I don't think it was really armament, but I don't know what his function was. Okay, the Pearl Harbor happened. Okay. And I was working on a plane, and the plane had the transmitter on one side of the fuselage, and the receiver was on the other side. And you just dropped a panel down, and you could work on the unit. Well, this plane was having some particular trouble with the transmission and reception or something. So I dropped down the receiver side and didn't find anything wrong there. So I walked over to the other side of the plane and dropped down the panel, and I found the problem there. So I fixed the problem and closed the panel and left. I'm up in the radio room where we did our work there, and we had the radio turned on to listen to the messages. And I heard them tell this one plane that there was something loose on the side of his plane. And I said to my sergeant, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to fasten that panel." He says, "If that falls off into Lake St. Clair, you'll never get paid again." So I got down there, and I'm wondering what's going to happen to me now. And the plane landed, and I jumped up on the plane and talked to the pilot. And he said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, your transmitter is loose on the side of the plane, or the receiver is loose on the side of the plane." And then some officer came and looked at it, and then he said, "Well, I guess somebody in communications goofed." And that's the last I heard of it. Nothing done about it until my sergeant, this was on a Sunday. No. Anyway, Sunday was involved. So Saturday and Sunday we had our time off. We could go into Detroit or do what we want. Well, I didn't go into Detroit. The sergeant come along and said, some wires were damaged, and you're going to have to fix them. So I missed going into town, and I'm fixing the cables in the plane there. And while I'm doing that, and this was on a Sunday, December 7th, my sergeant came down. He said, "There's news that Japan just bombed Pearl Harbor." "What's Pearl Harbor?" I asked. He says, "It's a base in Hawaii." So what happened then was that...
Hold on one sec. Yeah, just hold on one sec. Okay.
Anyway, that was Pearl Harbor Day, although we didn't think of it as that day. The thing is that I didn't get into town because I had to work on the plane. And then the thing that had to be done was we were now at war. And the borders had to be protected. Well, how are we gonna protect the borders? But I mean, we're the Army Air Corps, but they didn't have enough men. So they took some of us and took us to the, I think it's called Windsor Tunnel. It's a connection between Windsor, Canada, and Detroit, Michigan. And that tunnel was used quite a bit by people who worked in Detroit but lived in Windsor. Anyway, our job was to patrol the entrance at the tunnel. I remember there was one old Army man in our outfit, and he knew about the machine guns. So they set up a machine gun pointing right into the tunnel. And I was thinking, gee, these people coming from Canada and driving and seeing this machine gun pointing at them. That must be something. So we had a patrol there, and when I was patrolling, I would walk into the tunnel. So I got brave and I walked all the way to Canada. And I stepped over the border. There's a red line there marking the border. And I stepped over, and now I'm in Canada. So then I was, anyway, that was just a quirk that people do. And so then the regular Army, found enough regular Army personnel to take over. And so that was our tour of duty at the tunnel. We were there a couple of days.